Hello, friends. I'd like to talk about Kickstarter budgets, and this has been an interesting topic of conversation. Kate, well, I don't think I can pronounce her last name, but she's developing Elsinore, a time-looping Shakespearean Hamlet Groundhog Day adventure game, which sounds super sweet. And she wrote that campaigns like Ukulele and Bloodstained are destroying Kickstarter or making it difficult for indie developers. And usually the argument is, oh, they're stealing our backers, which I don't think is a correct assumption. But the other thing is, well, basically her argument was that they're distorting what game budgets are. And I think that's a tough argument to make, and I think it's worth talking a bit about game budget. So firstly, a game budget depends on who's developing it. So, like, for example, I talked about Double Fine and their man-month, cost, fully loaded cost, is probably more than 10K per man-month. And us as in indies, and we're probably not, starving student indies. I mean, because I'm old. I'm turning 33 soon, and I'm married, I have a baby on the way, so, I can't work for, peanuts anymore, and certainly I did that. I worked off savings, and I burned through them all, and, I bet everything on Retrograde and lost. So, I mean, I haven't gotten my savings up to the point, where I was, I don't know, 7 years ago when I went indie, and I haven't even, and certainly my salary is nowhere near, what I was getting 7 years ago, which is kind of terrifying when you think about it, because I am much better at my job than I was 7 years ago. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, but, so our fully loaded cost, I would have to do some more math, but I want to say it's over 5K a man-month. Is that right? And that's including, all the additional expenses, like, of the company, sort of amortized over the people we have working on the team. And I mean, it's tough because we have people working part-time and blah blah blah, but I mean, let's just say it's 5K a man month fully loaded. So I mean, we're half the cost of average AAA developer. We're more expensive than I'm sure some people who are, straight out of college and just really want to make games. And, who have savings or who are living off ramen or living with their parents. And, so that to some extent makes it, apples to oranges comparison. But, obviously we have a lot of experience, so, I mean, hopefully people know what sort of game they're getting when they back, an Infinitap project, whereas, if it's a developer without a track record, a lot of experience, then, sometimes that's a question mark. So, it's tough to compare game budgets in that sense, especially if people are doing a lot of work on sweat equity or invested a lot of savings. So, like, for example, FTL was 10K. That was their budget, 10K on Kickstarter. And, of course, they exceeded that. They got, I think, 200K. But, FTL is an amazing game, and I think it's cost them a lot more than 10K to develop. It probably cost them more than $20K to develop if you, assume that their time is worth, thousands of dollars a month. Because I think, it was like 2 guys working for 2 years. So, I mean, I don't know, you can do the math, pick let's say 1,000 a month, which is pretty low. 2 guys, 2 years, and these could be totally wrong. That's $48K. But, I mean, 1K is ridiculous, so, I mean, if you say 5K, that goes up, and anyway, so, I mean, it's tough to determine these things, and so the argument was that, Bloodstained, which, in a Gama Sutra interview, they said, we're getting 90% of the funding from external investments, and, the 10%, which I think works out to be 500K, is basically just to prove that there is interest, there is a consumer demand. And I think even if you look in their rewards, right, like, they have expensive rewards, a physical copy of the game for consoles for a certain number of money, that's not cheap, and they're offering it for like $60 or something like that, and there's special runs, with extra DLC built in and things like that. So I mean, I don't think their campaign is really to make money. I think it's really they have the investment. I think it's really more about proving that there is interest in the game, and there is. But I don't think that is unique to AAA. If you look at Octodad, they did a Kickstarter for 20K, and they said they wanted to, before they spent all this time and whatnot developing the game, they wanted to make sure that it's something people are interested in. So I think the 20K they didn't pay the employees, and you can find they published a number of hours worked on the game and stuff, so you can actually calculate out how far 20K would have gotten them at minimum wage or any of these other things. But I mean, it's not great, and so if you look at Neverending Nightmares, right, we had 99K as our budget, and then we had an additional 99K, if we met our goals, coming from Ouya, right? So that's almost 200K, and that is a significant sum of money. But assuming you're working full time and you can't afford to put sweat equity and any more into that, I mean, that's not like super amazing budget. I mean, like, so if you assume 5K a man month, right, that's why am I drawing a blank on this? 40 man months, which is like 10 months for 4 guys, and we had some extra, guys working in there, part-time artist, part-time sound designer, part-time musician. So, we clearly made the game in more than 10 man months, and so what we did, and the way we did that was we did consulting and contracting projects, and then I didn't take any money for maybe like 9 months or something, and another guy in the team, we didn't take money for like 9 months into development of 8 or 9 months, I don't know. Anyway, so we didn't take the money, and then we just worked to try and build the company and put together a demo, and then the money we raised was for completion of the game, and certainly, we couldn't get as far as, say, like FTL, so it was a significant amount of money we needed for completion of the game. And so for our next project, we're doing something similar, where we're basically funneling all of our profits from Neverending Nightmares into the development of our next game, and I'm not, taking back pay for the time that I wasn't getting paid. I'm just trying to ensure that I will, be able to make a livable wage moving forward, and everyone on the team is getting, something reasonable ish. I mean, certainly these guys could make way more money elsewhere. I could make way more money elsewhere, but I mean, I think we're all doing it because we love what we're doing. We love the game, and we love being able to have so much creative control over a project, which is not something you can get on a AAA game. So, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is that no one shows their real budget, and because it's tough to say what the real budget was. Like, for Retrograde, we say, oh, we spent $140K out of pocket. But that doesn't include cost of living for 2 guys for 4 years. So then what do you estimate that out? We had savings at that point. So what does that work out to, the cost of living for 2 guys for, 4 years? And we were in LA, so the cost of living was not cheap. So, I mean, I don't think anyone's showing their real numbers, and so I don't think the fact that, the bigger projects aren't showing their real numbers, and the little projects aren't showing the real numbers, I don't think that really affects Kickstarter as a platform necessarily negatively. The only thing was, like, when we were asking for, like, 99K, people are like, oh, this is a 2D game, it's not worth 99K. Because, they say, oh, FTL only needed 10K, or, other projects they could point to and say, oh, this project's more ambitious and they're asking for less money. And so, I think that sort of education is, that all the budgets are much higher, and we're just, just people need various amounts of money because they're at different stages in development. I think, that's the most important message to get across. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if everyone put their actual budgets, conceivably that could make Kickstarter better, but the problem is it's difficult to say what your actual budget is, because, what do you value your time at? And then the question is, do you value your time too high for other people? Are people going to say, oh, Matt Gilgenbach needs to support his wife and his future kid, and he's in LA, which I want to get out of LA, but that's a whole nother thing. Why is his time more valuable than, talented student, driven guy right out of college with a neat idea? Maybe Matt Gilgenbach's greedy, maybe, I should pledge for this other project instead of, feeding Matt Gilgenbach's, I don't know, pockets, lining his pockets or whatever. And I mean, that's, the tough thing. And certainly I try to be upfront, I don't think I've hidden or, I mean, obviously I don't want to give numbers, I don't want to give everyone salary and stuff, because then, if our guys do work for other people, and so if I'm saying, hey, this is, the indie rate I'm giving them, and then other people can say, oh, I can pay that guy the same, whereas, if people don't know what you're making, it gives you a stronger bargaining chip for negotiating other deals, so I don't want to, just put everyone's money up, but I mean, we're all working pretty lean, versus what we could be doing in AAA, and we're doing it because we love what we do. But there's definitely always going to be people who can work leaner, or maybe they're in other countries where, the cost of living is less, or they're not idiots living in LA like me. Yeah, I mean, there's a great indie community in LA, but I think it's just a bad idea from a cost of living. And, long term I'd like to address that, but, I mean, my wife has a job, and so on and so forth. Anyway, you don't want to hear any more about me, but, I mean, just the problem is that, it's impossible to compare budgets, because, you know, there's the question of manpower, right? And how much are you paying for that? Are people putting in sweat equity? Are they doing, you know, there's so many ways to structure a deal. Maybe people are all working for, you know, royalties on the back end or what. So anyway, that's my little rant on the challenges of Kickstarter budgets. Anyway, thanks for watching.